Okay, so the fear that you won't fit out of the door when quarantine is over. I like what you said at the end of our Facebook tease for this episode about how like the existential stuff isn't going away. It kind of feels like, you know how like in a crucible when you're working metal, the is that the right
Explain
thing?
what a crucible is.
Yeah,
for
so
our
a
clients.
crucible, from my awareness, if you are a blacksmith, please correct me. And I'd love to meet you.
That's pretty cool.
So you want to purify metal before you work it into something, whether that's jewelry or a weapon or whatever. To do that, you put it in a crucible, which is like a stone-ish pot that you melt the metal within.
And the impurities come up to the top.
The impurities come to the top that you wouldn't have been able to pull out otherwise. And it takes this massive change in order to bring up the things that are wrong with the metal, those other metals that don't belong in the iron or whatever. I feel like this whole quarantine experience has been a crucible for us.
Maybe we need to have my father-in-law on a podcast later because he does that. That's what his job is. He's a plant manager for a copper mine refinery. Oh. And so they put the copper through this process. And it's interesting because they extract the copper, but then they get silver and gold out of that, and it turned. And so I mean, he's got and the I don't know if he still has it, but last time I visited the plant, they had the bar of gold that they brought out of the copper.
That's crazy.
So it is. I mean, it is the purification, but it's like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 degrees that it's to get that purification process.
And it destroys the metal. Like it melts it down into a form that seems unusual and unhealthy, and you just can't do anything with it. Right. And I think that's how we felt. I kind of like the idea of gold coming out of it too, because I think oftentimes whenever we talk about the crucible or coming up with impurities, it's this idea that it's all the bad stuff.
Oh, sure.
But I think it can bring out some good stuff too.
It can. And I think that's where we need to focus as a society. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago on the news. I talked about this, in different frameworks. I know you have too, of let's look at this as opportunity and challenge, not as a problem. And I think a lot of times when we look at it as a problem, we want those feelings to go away. So the joke, we can't fit out the door, like it's legit.
Right.
If we're not dealing with our emotions and our feelings, that sugar rush or that caffeine high or, alcohol or whatever, it's those are not good coping things, instead of really focusing in on our emotions and going, okay, this existential angst. And here's the thing, the existential angst has always been there. I hate to break it to you. It's always been there, but we've used busyness, we've used wealth, we've used entertainment, food, other things to ignore it.
Yeah.
And now when we're faced with everybody's facing this.
Yeah.
I was talking to my wife the other day, and it was probably about 3 weeks ago, when she was really hit with no, everybody is facing this. She was watching one of her favorite shows on Food Network, and the host's kids were filming the show with their iPhones.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because they couldn't have a camera crew.
Right.
And she's like, oh.
Right.
This is everybody.
Yeah.
And that's and we processed it and we talked through it, and we're okay, but it's those moments where okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Bree and I, my wife, we watch The Masked Singer every once in a while.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one.
And we've stopped because they switched to this really awful green screened thing where Nick Cannon is Skyping with everybody, and it's awful. But it is that idea of this is nobody's really exempt from this.
No. Well, think about the reruns. I mean, hate to break it to you people, but think about the reruns and the movies that aren't going to come out this next year because they haven't been able to film.
Well, and it's interesting too how quickly our minds have even shifted, where advertisers are having to redo their ads because they'll say something about getting together with people and nobody responds to the ad because they're that doesn't apply. That's not real life. You look back on old commercials and you're that's not the way the world works.
Nope. Well, one of our favorite shows is if we could stay up that late, Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing it from his home.
Oh, really?
And he's Skyping in and guests and, or FaceTiming. And it's hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we have to recognize what is. And even when we are, in Colorado, we're the quarantine is over.
Yeah.
But we're doing safer at home, which is basically quarantine with a little more responsibilities.
A longer leash.
Yeah, you can go to the mailbox and come back. But I think it's something that we need to continue to talk about because the effect of this on us is not going to go away.
Yeah. And I think, maybe we talk about this later too, but so if we do this quarantine thing well and we're not eating our feelings or suppressing things, we're actually dealing with it, and maybe that's through teletherapy, we'll still come out of this with repercussions. And like, it's not just going to be over and done. It's going to be over and going. Mm-hmm. Like, we're going to come out of it and be like, oh, wow, there's so much that I'm dealing with right now. I didn't realize that I really don't interact with the people around me in a way that is fueling me. Like, right. I expected to have this, I'm going to hang out with my friends and feel so good. And then I hang out with my friends and why don't I feel so good?
Right.
And maybe it's because we have to change our dynamics, and this is a good opportunity to take a pause and then jump back in with a new perspective because we've had time.
Yes. There's a lot of good that's going to come out of this. And I think in order to appreciate that good, we have to deal with the hard.
Yeah, totally. That's so good. Well, we hope that you've enjoyed this conversation. We'll be doing more of these as we go through quarantine and probably after.
Most likely after.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.